Welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. This episode's not going to be like any other episode I've recorded, but I think it's important that we talk about this. And I understand that some of you won't like this episode. Some of you will probably mock me about this episode or just think it's trash. And honestly, I don't care because I'm just going to say what I plan on saying. In fact, I don't even know if any of this is going to be edited. It might just be the entire raw video that gets put into the show. It's going to be a complete monologue, which I know some of you don't like. I'm not going to share any stats. I'm not going to share any funny videos or anything like that. You probably already guessed what I'm going to talk about, though. But I think it's important we have this conversation. And I apologize in advance if I get emotional. Honestly, I don't even know why I would get emotional, but you never know. Yeah, you never know when you talk about things like this. Today I 3D printed these two chess pieces. The only reason why I printed two, one in black and one in white, is so people can't bitch about, oh, he's only using the black one, or oh, he's only using the right one. Because people are really stupid online. They have no way to understand what a metaphor is. They only look for reasons to be offended. So I printed one of each color. This is a pawn. If any of you have ever played chess, you will know that the pawn is somewhat useful of a piece, right? The very front row of all your pieces on your side and as well as your opponent's side of the board. I think there's 8 pawns right in that very front row. Now the pawn is useless and useful, like I said. Most players will move their pawns first to set up for another move 2 or 3 moves down the road. A pawn that first move can only move 2 squares. It can't move diagonal or left or right. It can only move forward. One direction. Now, a pawn has the ability to take out any piece that that gets in its way, as long as it's a diagonal move 1 square. And like I said, it can take out any piece on the board, including the queen if such a instant pops up. But most chess players understand that pawns are pieces they plan on losing. It's an acceptable, it's a collateral damage in the game of chess if you lose a pawn. Because there's so many other pieces on the next row back, the next row closest to the player, whether it be the knight or the bishop, the queen, the castle or rook, whatever you want to call it. Those pieces seem to be more powerful because they can move in different spaces. Often the pawn is used as a distraction. As a piece, again, like I said, to be sacrificed in order to set up another play where the player can take out an opponent's more important piece. What we saw this week with the death of Charlie Kirk, no, that's far too gentle. With the assassination of Charlie Kirk was the use of a pawn. Somebody used, I'm not going to say the dude's name, used a 22-year-old kid from Utah, infected him in a way to use him as a pawn to get to a more important piece of their opponent's chessboard. You see, Charlie Kirk, though young, 31 years old, I think, he had a knack of speaking truth to somebody on any level about any topic and presenting truth in a way that was very difficult to combat. Whether it was freedom, rights, gender identity issues, Charlie understood how to convey truth in a way that confused or indoctrinated kids couldn't argue with. I said indoctrinated on purpose. You can't just fall into hate in a way without being pushed there. Something happened to that young man to generate such hate and disdain for the truth that the only way to battle Charlie Kirk was to kill him. I don't think this is hyperbolic. I don't think this is way out of my lane. I have a lot of theories, and there's a lot of things about this whole story that just don't make sense. There's a lot of confusion. Honestly, there is a lot of hate from both sides of the aisle. Yeah, we lost somebody. I didn't know Charlie Kirk. I would consider him a friend. I think we would have got along. We probably would have disagreed on some things. Actually, I know we would have disagreed on a few things. But it doesn't mean you can disagree with somebody all you want. But disagreement does not equal taking somebody's life. I cannot tell you how many times I saw that close-up video of the impact of Charlie. Too many times. Seeing that wound, it was pretty obvious to me. I've taken enough trauma classes that it was pretty obvious to me that to survive something like that would definitely be a miracle. And I was praying for a miracle, honestly. But sometimes the things we think the world wants isn't really what the world wants. It isn't what God wants, I should say. Yeah, I believe in God. I don't care if you like that or not. I believe in God. If you don't like that, go ahead and unsubscribe to me, unfollow me on the social medias. I really don't care. But I'm not going to judge you for not believing in God. You can have whatever beliefs you want. That's what this world is about. Making choices, having the agency to do so. We live in a free country. Free country. And despite what the radical left, it's not even the left. It is this radicalized portion that has co-opted the Democrat Party, a few of them, seemingly more and more, to displace such vile hatred against people having a conversation. We should not fear that our lives could be in danger for challenging somebody's beliefs in a conversation or a debate or even an argument. Yet something is radicalizing a group of people to the point of extreme violence because they don't like the words they say, because they cannot combat the conversation with a conversation, they jump to extreme violence. And it is festering. And trust me when I say that it's festering in all political parties, not just one. And when things like Charlie getting assassinated happen, it's like the heat gets turned up one notch and that water just starts to boil a little bit harder. At some point, that boiling is going to be at such fervor that pressure has to go somewhere. And instead of pulling back and having conversations is what's exactly what Turning Point was meant to do, exactly what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. The cowards that could not communicate jumped to the next level and turned up the water a little bit higher. The sad thing is the ones that keep saying that the Republicans are the problem, the conservatives are the problem. They're generating more and more of the very thing that they say they don't have anything to do with. And in turn, the Republican Party and way too many people on social media are escalating the violence in return. And honestly, I guess I can kind of understand it. Because for so long, conservative has been getting kicked in the nuts, kicked in the teeth, old people being beat up on the street for wearing a freaking MAGA hat from a violent group of cowards, of useful, they are the definition of useful idiots. And it just brings that boiling water a little bit higher on the heat. And as much as I voted for Donald Trump, I appreciate him as president. I think, I hope he's trying to find ways to bring that temperature down. And obviously the media does not help. They're going to twist everything any Republican or conservative says and make it sound terrible. But here's the thing, and that is the exact key right there. Stop listening to our leadership and start communicating across the aisle. That's exactly what Charlie Kirk was trying to do. Now, I'm not going to get into the videotapes of the shooter, the surveillance videos, the security footage of him in the hallway and the stairway, and the did he have the gun on the roof, and when he jumped off, where's the rifle? I'm not going to get into that. Those facts will come out eventually, or we'll never know them. We can speculate all we want, but that's it. It's speculation. It doesn't give us any answers. It just creates more frustration. I'm not going to lie. I'm not really convinced that this is the kid, that this is the shooter. Maybe it is. I don't know. Obviously, the FBI knows way more than I do when it comes to the evidence, and they're definitely not sharing it all. But jumping to conclusions doesn't solve anything. It just creates more questions online and more angst and more hatred and more bitterness towards each other. It doesn't help. I can't believe the freaking drama over, 200 yards. He must have been a professional shooter. 200 yards is not a hard shot, especially with a 30-06, a full-length rifle. That's not a difficult shot. Him escaping for 33 hours, that's pretty intriguing. Escape and evade is either it's extremely lucky or somebody helped him. And the people in the crowd, problematic to me. To me, it sounds like there was a coordinated effort to distract the crowd so he could get off the roof. I don't know, though. I don't know. I heard hours of content today of people saying that the rifle that the picture of the rifle that they found in the bushes is not a Mauser, it's a Remington. We'll talk about that at another time, because I'm going to dig into that. It doesn't look like a Remington 700 when you start looking at the features. Could be a sporterized Mauser in 30-06. I don't think it matters. Maybe it does. There's some confusion and questions about, I don't know. A kid that can escape and evade for 33 hours wouldn't just create a trail for the feds to follow. Or he's just incredibly lucky. Not fortunate, but lucky. That's the things we're never going to know everything. Just like Oklahoma City bombing. Just like Ruby Ridge. Like the Kennedy assassination. Like Trump's first assassination attempt. We're not going to know everything. I mean, the amount of disinformation is unbelievable. My counsel to you on that is just wait to hear official reports, official news conferences, because the amount of disinformation is ungodly. Altered photographs. The amount of lies coming out of both sides of the aisle is disgusting, it's vile, and it's not helping anything. Once the name of the shooter was released and where he lived in southern Utah, the amount of people that went Facebook stalking and smeared the family all over the internet, it's just gross. They're posting videos of the shooter that aren't even him, like in a different Utah Democratic Party debate. It's not even him, or a different Charlie Kirk event. It wasn't even him, and they know it, and they still spew out that this is the kid. It's unbelievable. It is such a confusing time, right? Like, I think that's why it's so hard, because we don't know everything, and we want to know everything, and we're so passionate about somebody who is such a strong voice for freedom, for civil rights, for freedom of religion. And then to have his voice silenced in such a violent manner in front of thousands of live spectators and millions throughout the world. It's crazy. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys when it comes to this. That's not true. I do know. I'll give you some advice. Every time that we share information from another post or something on social media, and we share it without any kind of verification, it just turns us into one of these. Just another pawn in somebody else's game. Instead of us taking control of our chessboard, we're being played by somebody else. We're just a pawn, a useful idiot. How do you define truth? How do you decipher what's real and what's not? That's something that you're going to have to figure out on your own. Is it wrong to look at all these posts and to use them in some kind of a puzzle to figure out how the total image is? Maybe. There might be an ounce of truth in every one of these ridiculous posts. Most of them are just trash. If it's not an official report or news conference, it's probably just trash. You know, my show is really dedicated to the Second Amendment and self-defense and situational awareness, it wouldn't have mattered. In this situation, it doesn't matter. At least for the sake of Charlie and his family, there's nothing he could have done. Nothing could have prepared him, his family, his security team. Nothing could have prepared them for this event. Now, there might be something to say about UVU security and Utah State Police, and honestly, the FBI. I would think that Charlie's had lots of death threats in the past, and that they made secure an area a little bit better than they did, but I don't know. Maybe they felt that the Provo-Orem area is completely safe and nothing would happen. I've got friends that were very surprised to hear that Antifa is very strong in the Salt Lake Valley. I only know this because I had a close friend that was worked for the sheriff's office down there. And when the whole George Floyd thing kicked off, he got called into emergency service. And if you remember, it was a mess. Salt Lake was a mess. It's easy to say, well, that valley's full of Mormons and they're Christians and everything should be just fine. You can't put your blinders on anywhere you go. Or again, you just become one of these. Another pawn in the game. Being used by somebody else. We could talk about maybe a little bit better situational awareness in a crowd. But it was obvious that if it was a mass shooting, it would have been far more devastating. There was a purpose for the shooter there. And he executed his purpose. The real question we should be asking is, why? What made this kid make this decision? Well, and hopefully we'll get some of this answers later on. I listened to the official meeting today, or whatever you call it, press conference today. Kash Patel was speaking, and by the way, this is being filmed on the 12th. Kash Patel kind of slipped a little bit. He didn't say that there were others involved. And I can't remember exactly what he said. But it sounded like a network to me. You know, Ian Carroll did a video a couple videos back about it was the Minneapolis shooter and what radicalized him. And he mentioned something about these groups on, I think it was the dark web, maybe it was Discord, I don't know. But these groups that specifically target certain individuals and basically brainwash them into thinking that they could be more than what they are and convince them to do some really rotten and terrible things. And maybe this happened with this kid. It appears he grew up in a pretty nice home, loving parents. But once he hit college, something changed. Something radicalized him. Was it professors at UVU? Maybe. Was it... Sounds like he spent a lot of time online gaming, Discord, meeting people on Discord. That could radicalize him too. Maybe it was a combination of a bunch of things. Hell, maybe his family are a bunch of weirdo radicals that are really good at hiding bad things. Who knows? We don't know yet. I imagine the FBI and those investigating this case are getting a much clearer picture. You know, there's a bunch of people online saying that other conservative commentators are next. Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, a bunch of others, right? Like Steven Crowder, I think, is on that list. A bunch of others. They're trying to, I mean, it's terrorism. It really is domestic terrorism. Antifa should be categorized as a domestic terrorist organization. not the way left FBI version of anybody that had a Gadsden flag is an extremist. We're seeing something completely different. We're being painted as extremists. Anybody has a 2A flag. Remember we talked about this last year? That leaked FBI document saying what domestic or homegrown terrorists look like. And it was literally pointing out that anybody that's basically conservative is a domestic terrorist, while blindly blanketing and letting go other definite homegrown terrorist groups. You guys really need to work on how to decipher truth. Truth is truth. There's no such thing as your truth and my truth. Truth is truth. Man, our kids, I think about children now. I still have some kids in school. What are they learning? What are they learning? Other kids in school, are they convincing them to do bad things? Trying to? Probably, yeah. And let's be honest, school is not like it used to be. And I don't know what else to tell you. I guess we were talking about situational awareness. In this case, I almost had a friend at that rally. I was just thinking about this. And they decided not to go, him and his wife. And I'm glad they didn't go. But I guess what I was going with when I was talking about other conservative commentators being threatened with the same kind of outcome. Just be cautious where you go. Pay really good attention. I mean, just like the Kenosha, the Trump thing, just like that. They saw the shooter up on the roof. I mean, with cell phones, we saw a lot of the cell phone footage. Same thing with the Charlie Kirk shooting. Some observant people with cell phones noticing an abnormality. And that's situational awareness, by the way. Look for things that are out of the ordinary. Look for things that don't fit and ask yourself, why is that person dressed that way? Why is that person walking that way? Why would they stand right there? Start asking these questions to yourself. Why does it look like somebody's laying down on top of that roof? That's odd. Honestly, my counsel would be try to avoid things like this for a while at least. The radicalization of people, not just kids, but people, seems to be very overt. People are turning into pawns. People are being convinced to do something that is so awful for a cause. Only because they're so weak-minded that they're willing to do whatever to be accepted. I don't know. Maybe there's financial idealations on the other side. I don't know. But the epidemic isn't guns. It's radicalization. It's people being sucked into something for what they might think is a greater good, a better cause. Maybe parents aren't being as involved as they should be with their children's lives, which is true. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. Let me say a couple more things and then we'll shut her down. Charlie Kirk's wife, I just watched her press conference that she did, or statement, or whatever you want to call it. And man, there's parts there that just make a guy kind of tear up. whoever decided to take the life of Charlie Kirk, besides the shooter, I really don't think, I think there's more people involved in this. Let's just say it was just him. He took the life of a really young dad, of a really young husband who had a very bright future, who had the ability to talk to anybody, who was willing to talk to anybody. And to hear Charlie Kirk's wife talk about not having him. She made a comment about her little girl. Just go watch the statement. I guess the end of this video is hug your loved ones. Let them know you care. Never miss out on a moment to tell them that you love them. And find a way every day to make that day better. Because you just don't know what tomorrow brings. Be strong and be of good courage. Have a little faith. You know, they may have silenced one voice without understanding that how powerful Charlie Kirk's voice really, really was and is. There's something like 3,500 chapters of Turning Point USA with like 200 and something thousand members, students, young people, and an untold millions more who will pick up the mic and talk. They thought they could silence one voice, and they did silence one voice. But what they did is they just gave the mic to hundreds of thousands, if not millions more, just like Charlie Kirk. You have just as loud a voice as he did. You can convey truth just as fervently as he did. And now is our opportunity and maybe even obligation to stand up and say what needs to be said and have the courage that Charlie showed that we could have. It's our turn. Please don't turn up the violence temperature. That's not what is needed. I'm not saying you to be weak. I mean, be prepared for violence. Understand violence in case it needs to be done. But I'm not saying bring that first. But just be ready. Have the skills to know how to use and when to use life-saving tools. You guys are more amazing than you realize. Not only do you need to take somebody shooting, you need to tell somebody the truth. As we're honest with each other and honest with ourselves, that's what will make the world a better place. Are we going to hurt feelings along the way? Yeah, that's fine. Because that's what needs to happen. Keep yourself aware everywhere you go. Learn how to keep yourself and your family safe. Understand how to deploy any life-saving tool that you need to. Get the training necessary. Share your love, not just for the Second Amendment, but your love of freedom with everyone around you. Speak the truth. Don't be scared. We're all together on this. That's it. That's the video. I love you guys. Take care.